2 seconds. Okay, so we'll probably repeat this, Capri.
Yeah.
Um, well, welcome, Capri. So nice to
Thank
have you.
thank you. It's so good to be here with you two ladies. I'm
Yeah.
so
So lovely to see you.
So just a little background. We have met you on Athlete for Hope, and there has been a couple meetings where me and Laura, we have listened to what you have offered in meetings, and we both were like, we really like her. And so hence this is why we asked you to be on our show. And so we thank you so much for coming and to hear your story.
Thank you. I'm so honored that I am so glad that I get the chance to also speak off meeting with both of you because you both are brilliant to me and I look up to both of you as far as what you do for our athletic community. So I'm just excited.
Yeah,
There's so
thank
much love here.
Yeah.
you.
We all do. Yes, absolutely. The same.
Well, yeah. So Capri, we have done things a little bit different this season. Our very first season, we did a long form story of our own athletic journey. And then second season, we kind of did a departure from that and talked about like the athlete identity and how we all kind of associate as being athletes. And we're sort of in this interesting time in our careers that we all work with athletes. And so we've kind of coined this definition of forever athlete through it. That we sort of have those same mentalities that we have carried over through sport in our profession. And what we sort of got feedback from our listeners is that they miss that storytelling element from our first season. And so we thought, why not do a longer form storytelling for our guests? Because I do think part of what we thought was really magical about this podcast was that we do believe that storytelling is really powerful, and that is how we as humans connect. And so we're excited to have you on our show and to be able to hear about your story and where it starts. And so it doesn't have to necessarily be the start of your athletic journey, although that's a big piece of your story. But we would love to know, Capri, where does your story begin?
Wow. I will begin once my family moved back to the States after being stationed in Japan. I think that's pretty pertinent. So both of my parents were in the Air Force, enlisted in the Air Force, and they both joined right out of high school. They both grew up um, poor, for lack of a better word, and the military was their way towards opportunity that their family didn't have. And so I will fast forward to middle school time in Japan. We were preparing to move back to the States, and my mom got orders to move to Colorado. And at this point, my parents were divorced, so it was me, my sister, and her. And we moved back my freshman year, but I got there late, which meant I missed volleyball tryouts because that was a sport that I was drawn to in Japan. And I was like, oh man, I'm sad I missed it, but that's okay. I kind of got like a pity tryout. The coaches already knew that they weren't going to accept me, and I wasn't the greatest because I guess, a lot of kids already were training from a young age. I was one of those kids who just did everything. So in the meantime, I ran track. I tried to play women's basketball, but I was like, oh, this is a little too rough. So I just, forwent that and joined a dance team, things like that. And then moving forward, I made the team the next year, my sophomore year. And somebody came to my high school game, and I was like on the C team, the sophomore team. And somebody was like, you should play club volleyball. And I was like, what is that? My mom also, what is that? Because they didn't come from that world. And they were like, it's just a really competitive way to get touches, to get better. We're like, okay, all for it. Why not? And lo and behold, loved the club, did that. And sophomore year is late to begin doing club
Hmm.
anything. But I did it. And then the next year, I was a junior, got on the JV team, still playing club, and just kept thinking, I can't wait for college. I was always an academic. I love school. I was a nerd, and I wear that hat proudly. And I was like, I'm gonna get in because I have all A's. School is fun to me. That was it. And then somebody was like, you could go to school and play volleyball. I was like, really? That's a thing? I know, so out of touch. Military kid. Um, and they were like, yeah, you could definitely do it. I was like, okay. And this was told to me my senior year, going into my senior year, I should say. So in the summer, somebody mentioned that to me.
Uh-oh. Hmm.
It was a thing, but I was like, I think there's a
Okay,
one.
1 second, Capri.
Oh, yeah,
My internet froze right when you said my senior year. So can
gotcha.
we go back a little bit? And then you said your senior year and then go, yeah.
Yeah. So my senior year, someone mentioned, hey, you can play in college, right? And I was like, no. And just being a military kid, you don't get to stay in touch with everything that's going on in the States. And again, my parents didn't come from that kind of a background anyway. So this was news to us because I thought I would just get in on academics, like I mentioned. And yeah, I told my high school coach, and he was like, you could probably go D3 or D2. And I was like, in my head, I'm not, I'm new to this, but I think there's a one missing.
That's awesome.
So I was like, okay. So I tried to like get started on recruiting, going hard in that. My mom helps me, which I tell a lot of my kids now, make sure it's coming from you. But I really had no idea what I was doing. And that fall, I started getting contacted by a myriad of different schools. But I got some Division I schools that were looking at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this really going to happen? Like, came to my game, everything. And then fast forward from there, I was still in club. We went to a local qualifier, which is basically a really big tournament where teams all across the state come and compete for bids or tickets to nationals. And we went to one of those, and college coaches go there too, because it's really easy to recruit whenever all this talent is just in one place, right? And in my head, I always wanted to go to a HBCU. And for listeners who may not know what that is, historically Black college. And I say that because my racial identity as a Black woman was something that I was very attached to. Being raised by a Black woman and seeing all the wonderful things that my mom had to go through, or how she triumphed over the things that she had to go through, I should say, just really inspired me and drew me closer. So I was like, you know what? That's the school I want to go to. Especially also at that time living in Colorado, I was like, I don't know if I can do this any longer.
Yeah.
Too many of us out there. It's getting better though. But I was like, I want to go to HBCU. And at this qualifier, it was February of my senior year, so getting kind of close, right? And I get a card. My mom hands me a card after a game, and it says the University of Montana. And I'm like, oh, you can throw that away. She's like, Capri, don't be like that. I was like, what? This is the complete opposite of what I said.
Mm.
Uh, so she was like, no, give it a chance. The coach seems really nice, all these things. And I was like, all right. And I speak with the head coach and both assistant coaches, and I love them. I love them. They were so kind and very supportive, answered any questions that I had, no matter how, again, out of touch they were. Like I asked about their dance program and things like that while they're trying to sell me on their program. I'm like, this is what I care about, so I'm gonna
Mm,
ask.
yeah.
And I get to the official visit, and I fall in love with how beautiful. If have you ladies been to Montana?
I have. I went to Glacier National Park a couple of years ago and was like at the height of COVID where animals were out and there's not many people and it was gorgeous, beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. It's gorgeous, like you said. So I was like, I think I might have to do this. But I wasn't completely sold. And I was like, do y'all have a dance building that we can go look at? And they were like, sure. We can go talk to some professors there. Again, just trying to be like, whatever to get this girl here. And the dance building is actually right across the way from the athletic building. And we go in and we find somebody, and there is like this huge poster advertising for the following year, which would be my freshman year in college, and that they were going to put on a Broadway version of Chicago the musical. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'll go here.
Wow.
Do you still
It
dance,
almost feels like
Capri?
ancestral, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like it
very.
feels
Exciting.
like your ancestors were watching you and like, we need to give
Yeah.
her a sign right now.
Yes, yes, very much
And
so.
you still dance to this day? Do you still dance?
I do.
That's
Um,
amazing.
I go to some classes whenever I can find the time. I don't have as much, but I'm like, I gotta make time.
Yeah.
But yes, I've always been a dancer, unofficially, officially. I think my parents would say I would put on like little talent shows at family reunions. Yeah.
Video,
Amazing.
please.
Yep. Yeah, so nicely. Maybe one day. But yeah, so I committed to University of Montana. I got my degree in psychology and I did minor in dance. But going through that process, I didn't realize that I had stepped into an environment that I wasn't sure completely what it meant to be a University of Montana female volleyball player.
Mm.
And I say that because I found this out way, way later after I graduated, that I was the first African American volleyball player at the University of Montana.
You didn't
Yeah.
know that until later on?
Wow.
Until way later. And I was 17 because I started school early. I was 17 years old when I committed and attended the university.
Wow.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
Questions to ask. No.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
just even thinking about that right now, if you would have, and share what's comfortable for you, but how are you feeling just even knowing that you hold that badge, you carry that title?
And someone actually recently asked me a question similar to that. On one end, it's the title feels cool. It feels like, man, I really bust down a barrier, which did happen. There were other African American ladies who joined the team and had great careers there. Um, but behind that title, there's a lot of trauma that comes along with it to be the first. People don't know how to acclimate to you. I still remember I used to wear like head wraps or like do-rags when I would go to practice because we would have early morning practices sometimes. And I'm like, I don't want to do my hair. So there it is. And I would have teammates ask, what's that on your head?
Mm,
I'm like, a do-rag? I don't know what else to
Mhm.
say.
mm.
Mhm.
Um, Other things like that. Some inquisitive questions, and then some were sounded more, passive aggressive, and critical. And understanding like, okay, I have to have thick skin, in order just to play my sport and thrive in it. Um, and being a redshirt freshman also kind of put a target on my back because I was the only red shirt in the program at that time as well. So, I had to do extra workouts when everyone else didn't, or I thankfully didn't get left home because we had a smaller roster. So I was able to travel, but I couldn't, play or do a whole lot. So I just felt ostracized in a lot of different ways. So when people are like, "Wow, you're the first," it's like, yeah, it's cool, but it came with some nicks and bruises. So.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can I ask you,
Thank you
Capri,
for
like in the
sharing.
moment of being an athlete during that time, did those things come up as an athlete, or did it come much later after realizing all these things? When did that awareness come to you of being like different?
Honestly, it happened. That was occurring like right in front of me. There was times when I was just on my team and I would feel different or would get, treated differently by my teammates. And I would have conversations with my coaches and in their offices. And I thought, maybe it's just mean girl, or maybe it's just something's wrong with me. And it was like,
Mm,
no, no.
mm,
Um, and I learned that later too, when I started to do other activities outside of volleyball that I'm like, yeah, now I have friends. So there's just
mm,
something over here that's not maybe for me. And that thankfully changed over the years, obviously, as people graduate and the culture
sure.
shifts. But yeah, and then going out into the public, there would be microaggressions or just overt, racist things that would occur. Like, there were plenty of times where I would walk around by myself and people would cross the street even though it didn't even make sense to, or getting called the N word. And
Mm,
mm, I had someone come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna freeze up here," like not understanding that I've lived in cold places for the majority of my life. Maryland, the northern part of Japan is pretty cold, in Colorado. I'm like, I think I'll be okay. I'm wearing a jacket and everything else. So things like that.
Mm.
yeah.
I'm holding you right now, and just I know that it's probably bringing up all kinds of feelings right now, and just knowing that, just supporting you in this time. Um, while you're going through all this otherness and racism, and I'm sure there's all kinds of the other isms going on as well. What is helping you? You're saying like I have to have a thick skin.
Hmm.
So walk us through what's happening on the inside of yourself and who is supporting you, or like where can you go to get some reprieve or some support during that time?
Yeah. During that time, and this was mostly my freshman and sophomore year. So when most people are first attending college, they're just trying to find their group, find their groove. So freshman year was very tough. Thankfully, I did have a good support system in my dorms. We weren't in a athlete only dorm, so I was able to mingle with people who, yes, were in other sports, but also people who just weren't in sports to begin with. And them just thinking like, Capri, you're so cool, and I'll come to your games, and just forming like organic bonds with them. Um, that was a saving grace for me. I would also say my psychology group, like you start to see the same people, semester after semester, that just have interest in something that has absolutely nothing to do with the ball at
Mm.
all. So that was really helpful. The professors that I met were people who enjoyed research and they just wanted to dig in. And I was like, so do I, because again, the nerd version is like research, yes. So that's where I could feel like I could breathe. It was in class and in the dorms. And then sophomore year, I started to branch out even more into, like I mentioned before, the dance and theater community, which that community will always warm my heart and put a smile on my
Mm,
face. They just love you for you. They don't care what you have, what you don't have, your skill level, even at least the specific group that I was around. And everyone wanted to hang out with everybody. So that really allowed me to see like I can truly just be my authentic self. I can move and dance like nobody's watching, even when the whole
mm,
room is. So
mm.
I would say that.
Mm.
That's really
Oh,
beautiful.
I mean, you sort of just lit up right now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And for people who are not able to see Capri's face, I mean, you just like started sparkling.
Thank you.
Hmm.
It's
That's
so
what
interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting, Capri, because Laura, I don't know if you remember this in season one. You talk about how dance for, because in gymnastics we have to dance, we have to perform in our routines. And you also said dance was sort of this moment to moat emotions, and
Yeah.
it was also an escape for you, and how dance can do that for your body. It's so interesting. So, Capri, I went back to coaching gymnastics this year. I took an 18-year hiatus and I am back coaching. And the other day we had a competition, and one of our top athletes had a beautiful floor routine. And at the end, she had a score that was like lower than another gymnast that we thought she had like better technique. And the big thing that I said was, it's because she does not connect to her body, like the
Mm,
performance element, the emotional, the connection that you get with dance. It's like it's almost like gymnasts either can be really robotic, but that element of emoting emotion does not come naturally. And so when you have two kids that are both phenomenal and you're sort of weighing who gets first and who gets second, that was the element that I'm like, I think that's what it was. I think it was the connection and how dance really does emote so many different things out of your body, and that movement comes from an emotional place. And so the way that you said dance, Laura's right. Like there was your face just lit up. There was a different sort of emotion that came out of your words, which yeah, I can see how that is an element to it.
yes,
So
certainly.
beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And I honestly, now that I am a clinician, I incorporate not just somatic, somatic work with clients that I work with, but movement, like movement
Mm,
therapy. Because as you said, dance allows you to truly connect with yourself. Um, Unlike words or some other modalities that are out there, especially for our population that, we think we're moving our body or that we're in it, but you'll be surprised how many people just dissociate while they play, while they practice, while they just go about their day, that they're just on autopilot and running
hmm
from the very thing that carries them through the day. So,
hmm
yeah, that is the feeling I have about dance, whether it's for myself or for my clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just thinking
Beautiful.
about that, staying on that connection between expression and knowing your body and being in your body, and this really prolific experience that you had at college that is like bringing all kinds of all the intersections as
Hmm.
well. Um, can you share with people what it's like to sort of be in that space? And I think I say this because of what you just said. When athletes feel, and it doesn't have to be athletes, people
Hmm.
can feel sort of disconnected, almost like a dissociative experience in many ways.
Hmm.
Not too long ago, just really quick, I was driving a car with my family and I turned to my partner and I was looking at my hands on the steering wheel and I realized like I'm like inside my body for the first time. And I was 46 at the time. And I remember turning to him and saying like, I, I have just this realization that I'm actually inside. And
Wow.
all this time, I've just been sort of just slightly outside of myself. I think because of all of our traumas and all the things that had been going on at my home. But this experience of being with Joy, of meeting you, and has brought so much healing and has really put me back in to my own skin for the first time. Um, and that's a really important thing. I think what you just hit the nail on the head is that we can be in our sport, we can be walking through life in classes and work and whatever, and really just be kind of outside of ourselves. We're not really completely in. Having that and just looking at your face as it sparkled and you're talking about dance, having that experience in college, for instance, and maybe it doesn't have to be just only in college, but you're an athlete, you're a volleyball player, dancers are athletes too. Performers, you're having that space to express yourself, and then you're going through all this stuff in college.
Mm.
How how does that inform, or like maybe if you wouldn't mind sharing that journey into coming into your own body, into your own mind and soul? And how do you support people who are going through that journey for themselves?
Yeah. And it's actually really interesting that I have dancers that I see and we still do this. It's like the
Mm.
sport takes that away sometimes, that ability to truly be in your body, even when your sport is dance. So really, I know for me, I even though we practiced and trained all the time, Sunday was our rest day. I would make it an active rest day by sometimes I would go, to the gym and just get on the bike, like um, the stationary bike, just to watch TV and not be so in my space and so isolated. And then other times I would go into the gym or into the dance studio because sometimes they would leave it unlocked and I'm like, oh, let me check. And I would just dance. I would plug in my phone. And sometimes it would be hip hop, sometimes it would be jazz or something, a little slower. And I would just let myself move. Because the specific style of dance that I studied was modern dance. And that I had no idea, y'all. And I'm like, I think a lot of people are missing out on modern dance. You want to talk about being connected with not just your
Hmm.
body, but everything around you. It's that
Yeah.
one. It is
Yeah.
that one. Being connected with the floor, like there was a lot of different level changes that happen with modern dance. And it's almost like a puzzle to figure out how do I move with it today as compared to maybe yesterday, or just being present with the now. How do I use my fingers as I dance and pay attention to that? Sometime or not sometimes, there were two studio rooms and both had really huge, like ceiling to floor windows. And so being able to really just see nature, the sun, the clouds, because Missoula, Montana would get kind of gloomy sometimes, and just connecting with nature and with God while dancing. And sometimes it would turn into a praise dance, just to really just relinquish any sort of controlling nature that I was feeling that day or that week, feeling like things are just so out of control. And it'd be like, just give it to him, give it to the space, just give it away for a moment. We can, be controlling on the court and homework and everything else later, but right now, give it away.
Mm.
And so really doing that with athletes of like, can we just be free? Can we give that part of us up, even if it's just for a moment? I actually did a dance in the wind with one of my clients that I see this past week. And it was allow the wind to just guide your movement and see what
Mm.
happens. And you could just see them fighting the wind. Like even just
Mm.
hearing, me say that,
Yeah.
how much, structure and rigidity it takes to resist the wind from pushing and pulling you.
Yeah.
That is the athlete. That is
Mm.
the businessman. That is the really uptight kid that's trying to figure out who they are in this life. That's what we do. We try to dig in when something is like, no, I got you. Just go this way.
Mm.
And I promise you'll be okay. You'll be supported.
Mm.
That's how I would help them kind of realize like, yeah, you got to get into your body. You keep trying to avoid it and stay out of it, but give into it.
Mm.
It's really
That's actually
beautiful.
reminded me of I'm not going to say too much of this person that I'm seeing right now, and an athlete as well, but they mentioned the word woo woo, that this
Hmm.
would be too much woo woo. And
Hmm.
sometimes we get a little bit close there and they're like, stop it, Laura, it's too much woo woo. Um, and I'm recognizing that it's a process to be able to a little bit let go. It is really scary
It
to
is.
let go of that control. It is something that keeps us as safe as possible, we
Mhm.
think.
Hmm.
We've had
Mhm.
to put these shells up over time to protect ourselves or to survive,
So
to survive our communities or our society or the messaging or our sport, and just
Yeah.
sometimes the environments that we're in. So to let go is asking us to open up these shells.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, I'm just thinking it must be for that person to even stand with you in the wind and be open to doing that is must have been a breakthrough moment for both of you.
Yes, yes. And this is someone who does tightly like to keep their control, and they are in a sport similar to gymnastics where, you get judged on every move you make. You
Hmm.
you gotta stay in line and keep your lines and everything else. And realizing like they trusted me enough to go through that process, do it with their eyes closed, do it with bare feet even is
Mm.
is is an accomplishment, even though yes, they fought that wind. But we had been seeing each other for about a year. So I could only imagine if I would have asked that the first few
Day one.
sessions.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I even think about it on a level of like with athletes because they're coached and there's such rigid things with that and to give space of like freedom. This is a free space. You're going to interpret what you're feeling or how the wind carries you. That is like the antithesis of like there's structure, there's technique, there's a certain way to do things. What do you mean? Like I have to figure it out in my body. Like I need a demonstration. Like I feel like me as an athlete, there'd be so many different like questions of like, you mean the wind's just gonna take me and I'm just gonna like free form it? And you're like, yeah.
yeah,
And I think in my mind as an athlete, because of my perfectionism, I think that's part of it. I would think I would be doing it wrong and I would look stupid. And how do I
mhm,
disconnect from that? Because there is this part where athletes, like I think we're a lot in our head, and then we also separate from our brain a lot because it's like a machine that does, but we're so afraid of doing things wrong,
yeah,
And so I think those two elements kind of will come to play. So I think to get your your client to do that, that must have been, like Laura said, this massive big breakthrough. Um, because like even like I think about the kids that I coach, I made this comment about how like there's I think we had this person that was interviewing and she made a comment about like how really it's like connecting to your mind and she was talking about great athletes, things that they do not compromise is their like it's their meditation. And she was noticing like there was this ex that she was talking with and he kept on hurting his ankle and he was like, I don't know why I keep hurting my ankle, I keep turning it like when I play basketball. And she was like, I think it's because you're disconnecting your brain from your body, and so it's like you're not really being conscientious of those things and maybe you need to meditate. And then once that shifted, like all of a sudden he wasn't turning his ankle in. And I remember telling my kids this because we had a big competition coming and I was like, let's do a meditation. And the idea to lay down and close your eyes and do nothing, they were like, what? What? Like they freaked out and they were like, you just want us to lay down and close our eyes and you talk to us? And like breathe into it. It was like this outer body of experience and it was like too much in their brain to do that all of them opened their eyes and they were sitting up and they were like twirling around and fidgeting and it was like no, you like, stay still. It was the hardest thing to do. But yeah, I think as athletes it's this really difficult thing where we're so but like it's a bubble of trying to get outside of what is the norm and we do not like going off course. It is
no,
not our norm to do that.
no, because we
Anyways.
get reprimanded when we did that, or
Mhm.
lower scores, or so and so has the spot over you. So why would we automatically think, yeah, I'm just gonna let it go?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right. Um,
absolutely.
I have a question as well, Capri. Just thinking about you being a kid of Air Force folks.
Yeah.
That's a rigid place. I mean, your life is not your own. I can only imagine what that was like growing up, being essentially a military kid.
Yeah.
So you're in that, and you go to Colorado, you enter into sports, um, and then you choose dance, which is the antithesis in many ways, your ability to express in this we're talking about letting go.
Yes.
Tell me, like, how did you get there? How do you get to a place when you are your family is rigid, not your family's rigid, but like you're living in a rigid, regimented, maybe that's the word, a regimented way of being, you and then you uproot. I mean, that's we all know that any type of immigration, migration, moving is traumatic.
Hmm.
And now we're choosing dance.
Yeah. Kind of as I mentioned before, I moved since I came out. My parents would say, "Yeah, you just love to eat and move and sleep." And I was like, "Oh, all right, that's pretty simple, I guess." A simplified version. But movement always was encouraged in my house. My parents both like dancing, like social dancing, nothing, serious. And my dad, I remember actually, and this is back in the 90s, so this will maybe date it even more. He taught me how to do the butterfly and like the Tootsie Roll.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He knew I just loved to dance. So he's like, well, if you're gonna do it, let's do it right. So ever since then, that's kind of where like we do little fashion shows that would show our creativity. Um, Try to cook for our parents, even though sometimes it wasn't very good. And then dancing, we would dance in the house. My mom would play. And this is kind of a joke in the Black community where it's like, all right, on Saturday mornings, if you get woken up to R&B music or church music, that's a sign to get cleaning. We'll dance while we do it, but get up and clean. Um, so that was kind of like a weekly practice, um, much to our unbeknownst to us, that was our opportunity to get moving, get up and move and not be so stagnant. Also thankfully was brought up before cell phones were a thing, so get outside and play,
Mhm.
create games. Yeah, we didn't really have internet during those developmental years either, except for the little like pinball game on the on the computer. And even then, I could only get that at my cousin's house. We didn't even have that at our house. So yeah, you kind of had no choice other than to
Yeah.
get up and do something, create something.
Yeah.
So that kind of, even though we were in a very regimented household as far as both of them being in the military, there were still these pockets of freedom of and showing me you can do both.
Yeah. I think that brings up a really good point, which is our elders or the people around us introducing us to things outside of sport or outside being able to foster and nurture all these beautiful other facets of ourselves,
Mhm.
and how that ends up becoming a really important space for you, like imperative space for you in your life from then on. It's like absolutely, absolutely important. Um, which maybe is a good segue into your your now role as a coach, and
Mhm.
you are now working with these young people, and sports has changed. There's like so much. I think I was reading a stat that it's like basically by 14 years old, most kids drop out of sports because it becomes just way too competitive. It's like suddenly D1, D2, D3 is like the thing that kids want in sports at 14. So kids are like, forget it, I'm out. There's no fitness, there's no like something in between of just being healthy and enjoying your body. To your point, the cell phones and we know all these things are acting as barriers to movement and enjoying the outdoors and getting to know the opportunities to getting to know our bodies, or for young folks to get to know their bodies. Um, so what's it been like? I mean, Joy, you can speak to this too, because you all are working. You are literally coaching the next generation of athletes right now. What are you coming up against that you didn't have to worry about when you were a kid, or maybe your parents didn't have to worry about?
Yeah, good question. I would say with the kids that I have now, it's very much, and I work with older kids currently, but I've coached or worked with kids that have been maybe 8, 9, and then all the way through collegiate. Um, and I've noticed that there's this sense of like instant gratification. And if I don't get it right the first couple of tries, then I suck, or this feels impossible. I'm ready to quit. Or just overall, just like the self-worth, like you mentioned, because things have gotten more serious. We treat kids like little adults, which is, if you know anything about biology, for those who are listening, like most brains don't develop until around age 25.
Mhm.
And the males out there, this ain't to hate or anything, but this is even later,
Yeah.
technically, on average.
Mhm.
So when we try and put all these pressures on brains that can barely handle the world that they have to navigate just being a kid, now adding these additional pressure, social media, comparisons, all the above. Um, and then we're seeing, an influx in neurodiversity, or at least being able to call it what it is. It's always kind of been there. Um,
Yeah.
but now I know I have at least half of my team that is neurodiverse, and trying to meet them where they are versus calling them dumb, which I know,
Hmm.
unfortunately, a lot of them either feel or they've been called that, lazy, all of these things. And they're just this internal battle that you can just tell that they have going on. And as coaches, and Joy, you probably can speak to this too, of like, we have to be the guiding light, because if we allow them to spiral down, that path, it can get real scary real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I echo all those things too. The instant gratification is a new thing, because I had that 18-year gap. Um, I will say this, with kids, it is hard to keep their attention more so now, like you said. And so being at, I'm now 44 as opposed to what I was in my 20s. There has been a lot of growth and patience on my end that needed to get there, with kids. But I will say this, what I notice in this generation of kids, and maybe it's because our generation are raising these kids, is that there is this ability to speak up for themselves that I don't think happened 18
Mhm.
years ago. So I will say that that is a huge transformation where I do think I have more of a knowledge on how to help my athletes that I didn't have 18 years ago, because they are telling me what they need, which is such a novelty in sports, which I think is fantastic. I would not have done that as an athlete. And they are starting young. I am having 6-year-olds tell me that they are hurting and they
Nice.
cannot do this and they cannot
Awesome.
push through it.
Mhm.
And it's amazing that they have that language. And so I applaud the generation raising those athletes. And to be a part of that now brings so much more healing for my own journey. Um, but yeah, I do think that there's a lot of patience to be done now so that I don't remember doing as much. And the social media, the instant gratification, all those things do have a factor to it. I do think that there is an influx of not like pushing through as much. I agree with that. Um, and so for me, the war is like, when do I say, okay, sit out if you can't
Mhm.
do it? And when do I, so this is like where my trauma comes in, Capri, where I'm like, all right, like, she may not be telling me the truth.
Mhm.
Maybe her foot does not hurt and she just wants to get out of doing chin-ups, right? and and she is advocating her voice because she's telling me her arms are sore, but she can do a handstand for 2 minutes. She just doesn't want to do her darn chin-ups, right? So it's one of those things where you weigh as a teacher, right? Because I do think being in this time, there's this fear of like what you can say to athletes, what you shouldn't say to athletes. And I always, because of my experience, I always err on like, okay, don't do the chin up then, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I do think that there's like a lot of nuances that are happening that I think is a good thing for coaches to have that dialogue in their head, because that didn't happen when I was an athlete for sure. I don't think it was happening 15 years ago. So I do think that this is a good thing that I am having to process and learn. And I do think that what I would hope more so would happen now is that there's more of a collaboration with coach, athlete, and parent. And so
Yes.
I know for high level competitive sports, there's a lot of like separation with the parent because the expertise is the coach. And I think that how can we make this community where it's included, where everybody feels safe, seen, and heard? And that I always tell parents now when I talk to parents when they give me information about their kids, I always say like we are your child's support system and you are the head of it. And we are literally these pillars that are coming alongside of you. And as a parent, you are going to be advocating for your child the most. And I know that you're going to fight for your child way more than I'm going to fight for your child. I want to see the best for your child, and so we need to partnership with that. And so this anti like I know as a kid my parents were not involved in my athletic training. They did not have a say on how my coach would coach me, what my regimen is, what my diet was. They were completely out of that picture. Granted, I was away from home for part of it, but I think even if my parents were there, because I have teammates that had parents there, they weren't in the process of it. So I do think that that's something that would hope there would be an evolution in sport. That would be my 2 cents of it, of what I'm experiencing now.
Yeah, well said. I honestly would agree with, it does feel like parents and coaches are almost at odds. And then the kid kind of gets triangulated or stuck in the middle
Yeah.
of the two. Well, my coach said, but then my mom said, or my dad said, and again, back to these brains are very precious. They are learning from us. So if we don't model that camaraderie, then I mean, who knows
Right.
what that's doing to them. So I would agree that if we're able to start formulating bonds and ways for us to support one another, where it's like, you are the parent, you do all the parental things, but I'm also here to work with you and to work with your child to make them better, but also to take care of them while they're in my care. Um, yeah, I would agree with that.
Mhm. Capri, we're talking about process and journey.
hmm
Where are you at now in your journey, in your process?
Hmm, that's a good question. Um, I would say in my current journey, um, I would say honestly, really being present with this newer role that I have stepped into of being a clinician while also not allowing that to be all of who I am. So it's kind of like learning again or relearning how do you not make something your identity and just allow it to be a hat that you take on and off or a cloak that you take on and off. Because when I did finish school, I was like, all right, I'm going to continue to play volleyball. And I played professionally for a little bit. So that kind of allowed me to keep the hat on and just be that for a while. And then once I stopped and retired to become a student, it was still kind of like, yeah, that's the identity. And then slowly but surely, once I found this new pathway where I can do both and wear two hats kind of at the same time, it kind of got morphed into that again, where it's like, okay, that athlete identity is still there. Can you take it on and off within that clinician role, and just be a coach or just be a wife? All of these other things that I'm thankful to be and to settle into. So I would say that's kind of my process right now of practicing what I preach essentially, but also just being able to enjoy and be present with what I have that's right in front of me versus, all right, I got to think about what's going on with my business or my clients.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, goodness. Being present is it is a practice.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
It is such a practice,
Yeah.
right?
Just when you think you're getting good at it, here comes something else that's like, nope, get back, get back to work, go back to the
Hmm.
drawing board with that. So I would agree, definitely a practice, and it can take so many different forms and ways of how to get to that present mode and being mindful. But just as life goes, sometimes we sometimes let it go, and then we got to start all over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. How's the season going, by the way?
Yeah, we are doing well. I don't know if I told you this, but this is only my second year coaching boys volleyball.
Wow.
First, head coaching it. Prior to that, I coached uh, girls and women in college, and now I'm like, all right, new challenge time. And boy, is it sometimes. I'm like, my goodness, y'all don't listen. I
Yeah.
love them. They and I coach 17-year-olds, so they really don't listen. No, they love to work and play and learn new things, but they have to, just like any other, athlete, they have to earn that trust.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're looking to see, can I trust what this person is saying, and all of that. And they've realized like, oh, Coach Capri kind of knows what she's talking about, even if she didn't do it on our height of net. Like, yeah, I did a few things back in my day. Yeah, let's see if we can try it out. And we actually just had a tournament this past weekend in New Orleans, and we had to play up a division in 18s, and we got third. So,
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
yeah.
fantastic.
I'm proud of them, and I think they're also realizing like, man, this season is a marathon, not a sprint.
Mhm.
Because for a
Hmm.
while there, it was like, oh, we're in the people would joke there are a bunch of different brackets that you can end up in, and people were like, oh, we're in the tinfoil division, or we're in the rainbow division, just the look. So it's nice for them to realize, yes, we can get to gold bracket and get third in that bracket. So
That's
it's
fantastic.
really rewarding to see that for them.
What are you
Yeah.
learning about yourself going through all these, working with the girls and women in collegiate level and then going from a now head coach and working with boys? What how are you doing through all of this? What are you learning?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking. I'm learning honestly. Again, it kind of goes back to that being present with them. At least in the volleyball world, there's this like battle with coaches of, well, who's better to coach, the girls or the guys? And it's like there is no better. It's just different.
Hmm.
This is what we're trying to eradicate now in our
Hmm.
regular lives of who's better and who should be doing what, and
Right.
all of these outdated stereotypes. And it's like, no, it's just different. So I'm learning to be present with whatever they give me is what I need to work with, and not hoping and wishing things are similar to when I was coaching girls, but just letting it be so that
Hmm.
I can coach them the best that I can versus trying to mold them to what I'm comfortable with.
Right.
Doing the reverse a little bit.
Mm.
That's amazing.
Well, it's very handy that you are also a therapist.
Like, wow, did we strike the lottery? I was like, no. But at the same time, I have to tell them, but I can't be your therapist.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. That's what Laura tells me every day. Get your own therapist, Joy, because I ain't yours.
But I can appreciate like being a coach. I mean, those athletes are sometimes spending more time with you than they are even at home. When you think
Yes.
about the sleeping and they might be out at school or work or whatever, you actually might be spending way more time with them than their own families.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're wearing tons of hats between a guardian to a coach to therapist and therapist anyway, even for you too, Joy, because thinking about like, how is this going to land? it sounds like for both of you, actually, you both are nurturing relationships with your athletes, and you know that what's going to work with one is not going to work with another. And so you have to really, um, there's it's a dynamic. It's not
Hmm.
rigid. It's not your way or the highway. It is reading people, knowing where they come from, knowing their story, and knowing what energy that you have and where you're at so that you can be able to educate and literally guide the person to whatever they have to do next, even if it is just, you know, staying hydrated and aware and being a good teammate on the bench,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I've been reading tons of books. I've just been curious about kind of what's out there as far as a sort of sports psychology-esque and development. And I mean, there's so many. There's just way too
Hmm.
many. But the bottom line in basically every book and everything, it takes it from that sort of point of view of like John Wooden, which is, it's a relationship. And the best development is going to be mastery development, not
Mm.
results development. If you're
Yeah.
focused on like what you were both saying about like the prize, which is that's all that we do. You hear about, like,
Yep.
don't you want to go to the Olympics or don't you want to make it into the NBA or blah, blah, blah. It's always like this thing. And not to say that's a bad thing. It's good to have goals and it's good to dream. But on the day to day, it's about mastery development. What are you going to do in this next piece? I
Yeah.
was reading a really lovely part where somebody was talking about just being tired and their athlete being tired. And you and I, when we were growing up, all of us would have been called lazy or some kind of name that would have gone with making you feel bad and that you didn't, so you're just somehow, you have some kind of fault with you. But that
Hmm.
the realization our productivity isn't a full glass of water every single day. Sometimes the glass of water is half, sometimes it's empty. We're coming at different levels of productivity or energy or capability or whatever we having available every day.
Yeah.
And so what I liked is that this coach asked their athlete who was like studying for midterms or something was going on, staying up late, and that person wasn't you performing or practicing up to their usual capability. And the coach was like, on this turn, so you're tired. So what would you like to work on today? And left it as a collaborative effort that day with that athlete. Does it happen every day? No, of course. And does that the coach was like, do I yell? Yes, I do. Do I yell things that put people down? Absolutely not. But am I yelling because I'm passionate about something or I'm frustrated? Yes. And then do we have a conversation? Yes. We make it a collaborative effort and understanding.
Mm.
Because just as much as I know my athletes, they know me too. And
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
that's what I'm hearing for both of you is how you are really nurturing that relationship with your athletes. And that's really beautiful because we
Yeah.
need more of you in this
Mm.
world.
I mean, I read a quote, I think earlier this week that said, correction without connection is reprimanding. And I was like, ooh, that is a good one. And so, like, correcting my athlete and telling them, like, what they need to do. And if I did not have a connection with them, no wonder they would feel like whatever I do is not enough, or I feel inadequate, or you don't like me, or, you like this kid better, And so that really hit me hard. And I just think about like me as an athlete, what would have changed if I had a coach that connected with me? I mean, I think about like even my longevity in the sports at Capri. Both me and Laura, we retired at really early ages. She was 12 when she ended her gymnastics career, and she was at the highest level, and I was 15. And I was like, if I had a coach that connected with me, how many more years of the sport would I have had?
What perspective? Yeah.
It was like it would have changed the trajectory of a lot of things, I think. And if I had a coach that allowed me to, like, maybe it would be like, do you want to do this? Do you
It's a
want
good
to do
question
this?
too.
And it's like, I think when we get to a certain level, like a D1 player or like an elite gymnast, it's like, how much of this is staying on this track because you're amazing and phenomenal and you're good and you have all these things going for you, and to quit would feel so much harder than just to keep going. that I think about that quite a bit. Like how much of this was motivated on my ability as much as my heart. And I think as kids, it's really hard to decipher what you really want, what you're really passionate about at 8.
Yeah, my goodness.
So,
Wow. You bring up a really, really good point. How we don't always think about how our actions can have long-lasting effects. And especially to a kid, they already, have the egocentrism to just think the here and now matters so much. Like if I don't do this, my world is going to come crumbling down. So the words that we speak to them, they have to be giving life versus
yeah,
taking. Um,
absolutely.
because to them, those words stick so hard. And the old saying where it said, um, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me." BS.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
for kids, that's everything, and your actions obviously matter too. But that's the narrative that they start to replay over and over and over in their heads. And when you were talking about the quote that you mentioned, that connection piece, I remember not too long ago, maybe 5 to 10 years ago, people were like compliment sandwich
Mm-hmm.
when you give feedback and criticism to athletes or anybody you work with. And now we know that is complete crap, that people don't respond well to
I will
that
say this really
because
quickly, though, Capri. Really quickly. I went back to coaching gymnastics and I had to do a training for abusive coaching because gymnastics, USA Gymnastics is shifting things. And that was the number one thing that they told us to do was compliment sandwich. Anyways, I just had to say that because I literally was like, you're right. It don't work
yeah, right.
because I see it happening in the gym and those kids still look at you like you don't care about me.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh.
Take notes.
Take
They
notes,
try.
USA Gymnastics.
Takes notes.
I mean, because
Sorry,
what,
go
what
ahead.
do you like? You hear, something good. Okay, cool. And then you hear the meat of that sandwich, which is supposed to be the feedback, which is usually negative. Um, and then you try to follow it up with another compliment. I'm still stuck on the meat,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like you put, I don't know if I can curse on here, so I won't,
You
but if
can
you
curse. Yeah.
put a shit sandwich is still going to taste like shit. Like there is no,
Hmm.
Yes.
like
Yeah.
you can put the tomatoes, the lettuce, the mayo. I'll be like, this tastes like shit,
Hmm.
So we get stuck. We're gonna get stuck on that negative feedback. So the compliment sandwich, I think, makes the person providing that feedback feel better
Mm.
versus really being the receiver feeling like they're valued or that you don't think that they have some underlying dysfunction about them or whatever progress they're making. So we know now you have to create relationships before you come in giving any kind of feedback that's negative anyway. And when you do get to that point of relationship of being able to do it, just say it,
Yeah.
but you also have to create balance with, okay, the good and the not so good.
Yeah.
But they know
Yeah.
you actually are coming from a place of care versus, oh, you think I am a terrible athlete or I can't do
Hmm.
this. So
Hmm.
those day-to-day moments matter and how
Yeah.
we handle things like that. So the fact that a whole bunch of coaches out there are getting training like this, oh man.
Still to
Yeah.
this day. Still to
Yeah.
this day. Yeah. It's kind of
I think people
crazy.
don't realize like how people pleasing athletes are. They are the
Oh.
most people pleasing people in the planet.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because even if you have a collaborative relationship and or people think that they have a collaborative, I respect my coach and my coach respects you, of course, but you're still seeking their correction to
Validation.
make my technique better. Like you're still looking to somebody else to tell you,
You're
how
good
can I make
enough.
this better?
Yeah.
It's always going to be people pleasing. So
Hmm.
then to your points, both of you, is that whether it's your coach or your parents or a teacher or then later on in life, which I used to notice this about myself when I was starting out in my therapy career and I was at a clinic, like just even the learning process, even though in my head, intellectually, I'm like, I'm going to make mistakes because I need to learn and take risks. Every time I made a mistake, it felt like I was the worst human being in the history of human beings. And that's just not true. It is a learning curve that that mentality needs to be nurtured as part of a mastery development. If
Yeah.
we could just focus on that rather than the result, then we would, maybe hopefully create just soften that rigid thinking that
Yeah.
can be established so early on and then that just carries people throughout life. It is wild to me how many, former elite gymnasts that I talk to and they think that they're absolute failures because they didn't make X, Y, or Z, or their careers ended in injury, which is absolutely not their fault. Um, but I thought the same way too. But all these things that we have to sort of unlearn and just focus again, the recognition that we are all people pleasers. And as coaches, if you were raised that way and we don't have coaching to coach ourselves out of that, then some of these coaches become, well, I've earned this. I am a coach. I know I've earned it. You need to listen to me. And then we have like that dictatorship.
Yeah.
So to
Well, and it's
unlearn
this,
all
yeah.
these histories of stuff and then become, truly collaborative,
Right.
thoughtful, it takes a lot of work, which both of you have done so much and you're doing daily in our lives because of, I mean, let's be honest, being folks of color in this planet, in this country, it already has forced us. We just once we get into community with each other and we have that space to talk about it and be open about it. The nice thing is that it's validating, it's normalizing for us, and then we can be like, okay, then what do we do now? How can we
Yeah.
use it to support the people around us, our communities, whether it's other
Yeah.
coaches or athletes or guardians or whoever.
Agree. Couldn't say it better.
Agreed as well.
I'm just so grateful that there are coaches like you both out in the world. And there are more. Um, but I'm really loving this ever expanding community that I've been saying this over and over again, Capri, which is I'm kind of, I'm all for the people who are just out there to dismantle, and we need to have domestic policy and that supports the care and compassion and trauma-informed support, all that piece for all people, but particularly for athletes. But I also really like saying I'm actually no longer interested in trying to like basically, you know, take
Fix a
down an
broken
iceberg.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take down an iceberg with a tablespoon.
Yeah,
I'm much more enjoying this like development of our new iceberg
yeah.
to much healthier, much more loving, much more aware, and it produces fantastic results as far as results go because we have results of whole human beings, healthier
Yeah.
relationships, more caring teammates and people who are more connected to their bodies,
Yeah.
coaches that can give themselves a break, take a beat for a moment and support each other as they grapple with all of these elements. I mean, it's tough. I give it up to
Yeah.
you. I loved your post, by the way, Capri, that post about supporting coaches and guardians who are just stuck. It is true. I give it up to coaches right now. It is a tough space to be in. There's a lot that y'all are going through. So I
Yeah.
just appreciate you all so much.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Phenomenal.
Cool.
Okay, so I
Well,
think go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Joy,
No,
please.
I think we were going to say the same thing. So Capri, this is sort of the end of our interview, and we always end with a lightning discuss question. And this was created with Laura and her partner. And it was really for them to like put things on hold and really connect with each other. And so it's one question that we ask. There's no wrong answers. Would you like to play lightning discuss with us?
Oh, let's do it.
All right. Okay. So the topic is favorite pizza topping. Discuss.
Um, this is going to be so boring, but cheese.
Jeez. Classic.
Classic. You're a
It goes,
technician, it sounds like. You do the basics. The basics, the technique is right.
yes,
So
yes.
cheese
Love it.
pizza. Your
That's
kids
right.
must love that you just like cheese pizza. It must make it easy.
They do, but then they're also like, well, you don't want to put more meat on that? No, I'm it's simple over here. Especially, when your stomach gets a little older, all that stuff does not.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Speak the
It's
truth,
but
Capri.
it's like the universal donor. What is it? O negative or O positive? Cheese pizza is like the universal donor.
Which I am, by the way. So I guess me and cheese
Are you
pizza.
really? I
There
am
you
too.
go.
That's
I'm O
hilarious.
positive also.
We're all cheese pizzas in
Yeah, there
here.
you go.
Cheese pizzas. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, Laura, what
Excellent.
about you?
Oh, I didn't even think about this. Probably pepperoni. Pretty boring as well. I like it when the pepperoni edges kind of come up and they're
Come
a
up.
little bit crispy.
Yeah.
So when you bite into it, that crisp sound happens.
Huh?
I
Hmm.
I love that crack. And then
Yeah,
and then you get into the chewiness of like salty deliciousness, which at my age I probably shouldn't have anymore. Damn it.
I know. My gut. Yeah.
But now, Joy, you are the pizza queen. So
And
what does a
pizza's my
quick pizza
favorite
queen?
meal, Capri. My favorite meal of all time is pizza. So I will say this, I do enjoy a pepperoni on there for sure. And my favorite pizza place, actually, since you like the Krispies, I'll have to take you, Laura, the next time you're in LA. Capri, if you ever are in LA, let me know. But they take the pizza, they bake the pepperoni on it, but they also take another layer and they fry the pepperoni so it's super crispy, almost like a chip, and then they put it on top. Yeah, so it's super crispy. Uh-oh, I think I lost your volume, Capri. Hold on. Say something.
Oh, hello?
There you go. There you go. Okay. But so there's definitely a pepperoni in
Wow.
there. I do enjoy some veggies on it. So because of my stomach and I can't digest the same way that I could, I always get arugula on the side, but it has to be fresh arugula. So if it's baked in it, it messes with my stomach. And so it's really functional. I do like the taste of the arugula too, but it's more functional than it is like my favorite topping. But I'll do a little pepperoni and some sort of veggie with it. And I will say this, every now and then I do love an anchovy, which I know is
Oh,
controversial,
yes.
but
Oh,
I do like the salt. So those are my faves.
Same.
I
Same.
thought a
It's
little
really
longer
fun
and
at this
harder.
age. No, it's at this age. Now if I have that, because I do, I also love the anchovy, but everything, I mean, all of this food, no matter how wonderful it is, it causes me to have really swollen feet
Yeah,
and
or swollen
hands.
fingers. Yeah, I can't take my
Damn
ring off or
it.
yeah, all that
Yes.
stuff.
oh, oh, okay.
Getting older is
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah,
super. Oh
So
man,
things to look
fun.
forward to.
it's like, the athletes that are out there that are young, eating whatever you want, enjoy it while you can.
Enjoy it now. Enjoy it now. We remember
Enjoy that
those days.
metabolism.
Oh
Yep.
shoot. Yeah, for real. Um,
All right, Capri. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. We appreciate you so much and being part of our community. And we're gonna have to meet you one day in person because I know everything's been virtual, Zoom or, Google Meets or whatever, but it'd be lovely to officially see you in person and share a meal and a hug. So hopefully that will be real
mhm.
soon.
We're gonna make it happen. We will
Yeah,
actually
sounds great.
be in LA for a tournament. Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't know you were
When,
perfect.
there.
Capri? You
That works.
gotta tell me. Okay, well, let me know because I would love to take you out for drinks or something, and meet up. It'd
Yeah.
be wonderful.
Yeah, same. And if you're in New York, we have the best cheese pizzas.
Y'all do.
We do.
With the best
Do. So
water.
I will on there and I'll be like,
With
we
the
getting pizza?
best water. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you both so much. It was such a
Thank
joy
you,
to have you
Capri.
here, Capri. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your story with us today. We really, really are honored to be friends with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And again, I'm always looking forward to whenever I get to listen to you all speak in our meetings and to speak with you now, it just furthered that love. So I'm
Oh,
excited.
much love to you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
All right, hold on, Capri. I'm just gonna stop.